We've been playing Jesus for 500 years. Like literally.
Yeah.
Jesus doesn't look anything like
You can identify
Brad Pitt.
everything but the children of God. I need my people to wake up and understand that this is a propaganda.
The curse of the pharaohs are a poor example of what wait for the plantation.
Beware false prophets who come dressed in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves.
You black bastard!
He that stealeth the man.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I'd like to say shalom and blessings to all my brothers and sisters, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Elohim and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Mashiach came, who is over all Elohim blessed forever and ever. Hallelujah. Amen. Shalom and blessings. Hope everybody's doing well. Want to welcome everybody to tonight's fellowship. We're going to be hanging out with our brother Big Red tonight. Shalom, brother Big Red.
It's good, man. Shalom, everybody.
We're going to be talking about some fun biblical facts tonight. You know, some things you may be aware of and some things you may not be aware of. But in any case, what we want to do is do the best we can to bring the Most High's word more to life and to show some proper meaning and context to the things that we read. One thing that I've always realized coming into the truth is that the Bible is our history, and that with it being our history, you know, we have a vast history. You know, it's a lot of things missing from our history. It's a lot of things that's misinterpreted from our history. And so it's through the grace of the Most High, number one, that we're able to understand and know who we are in these times. And number two, we have the grace to be able to understand the things that we read and to know that we are, in fact, reading our history. And so we want to give the Most High honor and praise for that. I want to say once again, shalom to everybody in the chat. We're going to be getting into some things tonight, but real quick, I want to turn it over to the brother Big Red. If you want to say peace to the family and open up with some things that you have on your heart, go ahead, bro.
What's good? What's good, everybody, man? Yeah, it was. I always like getting on these type of builds because we've been so lied to in our upbringing that we don't believe. I was talking to with the brother earlier. We'll believe that Yahusha died and came back and showed his whole field hands to his disciples and then raised up in front of them. We'll believe that, the angels rolled the stone back and Mary and his, them seeing the angel up there and he said, hey, he's not here. We'll believe Elijah outrunning the chariot. We'll believe all of these different things. But then when it comes to stuff like, there were giants in the earth and, there were creatures that mixed with the angels mixed together and they did all this crazy stuff. And, the angels taught the people technology and they had advanced technology that looked like magic. Yeah, Bruce be like, Bruce be like, oh, I don't know, that's crazy, and I don't know about that. Oh, this brother, he on that other stuff, that silly stuff, and we get like that. But a lot of stuff that I found, especially a lot of the things I'm gonna end up presenting, later on tonight or whatever, like it came from Gentiles. And a lot of times we get so caught up, with, they Gentile this, they Gentile that. But the Gentiles been figuring some stuff out where we've been sleeping. We've been just sitting around sleeping, worrying about our day-to-day stuff. And some of these Gentiles been actually getting some decent knowledge. Now, they don't have all of it, of course, because they be missing crucial points, especially when it comes to us being the people of the book and closing in all those biblical pictures. But when it comes to the science exploits, because they've had access to the science, they've had access into this knowledge, and they're not afraid to go look for this knowledge. Like the Christians, you know, a lot of us still have Christian books. Like if I tell a person, hey, I read Herodotus to look at history, I just need the Bible. I don't need no extra book, which that's what I hear from Christians.
Right. Yeah.
I heard a Christian dude tell me that when I quoted Jasher, and it's like, nah, bro, like this is Yah has designed this so we can know the past, because we're about to walk into this future that's coming up right now. All this stuff that happened in the past, we're gonna start seeing these same things come up again. It's about to get weird on planet Earth, and if you don't understand the Bible fully, you'll fall for the nonsense that they say. I mean, Yah said it. He shortened the days because the very elect will be fooled.
Man, and then, you know, we talked about how they use the media in Hollywood and entertainment, so to speak, to sort of desensitize us to these things, right? And so what you think about that? Because that's something that Hollywood and entertainment has been doing for a long time. And we know that one of the ancient notions that come from theater is that theater is mimicking life in a way.
Yep.
What you think about that?
It's absolutely true. A lot of the stuff that they tell in these movies, they be kind of halfway telling the truth without, you know, they saying it without saying it. Like you always have these giant movies with giants, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk with a giant tree. You got James and the Giant Peach with the giant peach. And then you have like the Beowulf story where the giants was eating humans and they're fighting these half human, half otherworldly creatures. And then these same things are written on walls in every temple that you walk in across the world. They have pictures of these half human, half animal things, and then we see it on TV, and then they tell us, oh, it's just myth, it's mythology. And then when they show it to you on TV and, you know, that little half truth way, they get us desensitized. We sit here like, oh, that's just on TV, or that's not real, or that's just what they do on TV. Well, there was a movie called Eagle Eye back in the day, and it had Shia LaBeouf in it. And in the movie, there was an AI that the government built to basically monitor everything in the United States and to give them not only military updates, but terrorism updates on who could be a terrorist threat and how to basically keep the United States running. So they designed this AI with access into every connected system in the whole country to basically run the country and help them keep the country. I'm sure back then people would say, oh, that's crazy, but did that sound crazy now?
I mean, nothing sounds crazy now because everything you're seeing is crazy, and it's just the beginning, you know. But, you know, one thing, though, I hated growing up, I hated science, man. And the reason I hated science is, you know, I always believed in God, you know, so to speak. You know, you start out, you know how it is, you start out young, Christian, believing. But I always had a deep belief in my heart. You know, I didn't have the understanding of none of that, but I always hated science because I felt like science had a way of trying to explain the Most High's creation without including him in it.
Facts. Yeah.
And then when you look at the system that we in, you go to school 5 days a week. You learn in science, social studies, and whatever other kind of studies that they want to try to shape your mentality and the way you see things. And so they're indirectly teaching you that the Most High is not real 5 days a week. And on Sunday, you go to church where God created everything. God is this, God is that, you know. And so you kind of in a system of confusion in a way, but I always hated science. You know, I could never get more than a C in it anyway, but
the way that the Europeans teach it, you know, it's been so flawed. the way science has been taught. They taught quantum physics back in the day. They said that particles would only exist as a particle or a wave until you observed it. So essentially, these particles just sat there waiting for a human to come look at it to determine what it is. And this is what they taught, and that's how they basically pushed everything back in their day. Well, of course, now more knowledge is coming out, and they're like, that's absurd. Like, that's not what it is. It's either a particle or a wave, depending upon the state that it's in, not how you're looking at it. It's going to be that way whether you're looking at it or not. So a lot of the science that they teach is self-centered. It's to get your mind, it's like, just like you said, it's to get your mind off of Yahuwah and to get you on yourself. This is why they teach that they teach these huge numbers, which is something I'm going to address. They teach, things take millions of years to happen and thousands and billions of years for fossils to form. And it takes billions and thousands of years for this stuff to happen. And we're in a round globe with stars that are billions and thousands of years. And there's tons of planets out there. And we're just some little small speck in this grand scheme of things. That goes counter to literally everything the Bible says. The Bible says he sits high and looks low. The Bible says that the earth is his footstool. How is the earth his footstool in a big, vast, supersized universe? Where is it? What, he just got his footstool here, but not everywhere else. He's just focusing on this one little place, but not everywhere else. Like, come on, man. When you really, really start looking at the word and stop trying to make the word fit your imagination, because that's what I did at one point when I was reading Bel and the Dragon. At one point, it was Daniel was going at it with the king, and they were talking about whether the gods were alive or not. And they came upon the dragon, and he was like, oh, you can't tell me this isn't alive. Look, it eats, and it drinks, and it's alive. And still, even though he has said all of that, I seen Daniel go through and do this thing, and he put some stuff in the dragon's mouth, and the dragon blew up. So in my head, I'm like, oh, man, he put an explosive in there. Because in my head, my Christianized, Hellenized mind, it was a statue that they were worshiping and putting stuff in his mouth, and Daniel made a bomb and put it in there, and then boom. So I'm thinking like that until I researched the stuff that he used, and everybody was saying, nah, it's not explosive, but if you put that in something's stomach, the gas reaction will be a bad time. And then that's when I realized it was a real beast, and I realized how my mind was trying to make the Bible fit in my understanding instead of reading it for what it said. We don't have to interpret a lot of things in the Bible. It's clear on what they're saying.
Man, crystal clear.
Crystal.
And, man, we're gonna address some things. Let's take us a break real quick. When we come back, we're gonna jump right into it. All right. I want to thank everybody for chiming in with us tonight. Hope everybody's edified. You're gonna be in for a nice little treat. But shalom and blessings. We'll be right back.
What up, E? What up, E? What up, E?
Shalom, shalom. Welcome back. Just a friendly reminder, to our brothers and sisters, we refrain from the ways of the heathens to the best of our ability. And so I want to welcome you, brothers and sisters, back. Big Red, what you want to open up with today?
I was just laughing at them three little pigs under the tree. That was hilarious. That was just too funny to me. No, lots of Christians had them some bacon and opened some presents on Yule logs. But
that was the present. That Christmas ham.
Yeah. Yeah, they got their little Christmas hams and stuff. I mean, if you want me to just go ahead and get right into it, I'll jump on it. For what we were talking about with the old ways, and I don't even call it really science. I call it the workings of Yah. How his wisdom works in this world. And they've been lying, like we were just talking about, in science and a lot of stuff. And they just tell us these things. And I have this pulled up because I mainly wanted to pull this up here for what these little things here are called. The ones coming up from the ground are stalagmites, and the ones coming down from the top are stalactites. And then there's different types. Of course, when the stalagmite and the stalactite meet, it becomes a column. And then you have around here, they got what they call flow stones, because this is formed when you have water where there's sediments on the top of it, and the water is basically dripping down. As the water drips down, it leaves parts of the sediment that's in it behind, and they all eventually build up together and form these columns. And then as it drips down on the ground, the stalagmites form. So it's like as it's forming on the top, it hits the ground and the stalagmites form underneath it. And as enough time goes by, they eventually meet. And then you get these suckers right here where it's a column where they both come up together and meet. Now, the traditional thing that the Europeans have told us is that for these things to form, they form like little tiny millimeters in 1 year, and it takes thousands and thousands of years for these things to form. And they look at the rings and they see all the thousands and thousands of years for all these things to form. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to challenge that concept. And then I'm going to show what really happened what really Yah may have meant when he said, if you don't praise him, the rocks will cry out. So let me actually mute this so I don't get no beeping and nothing coming through. It always happens when I get on the live. People want to call me. Everybody want to send messages and stuff. So this is, like I said, the Gentiles, man, they've been on it. They've been fighting the creationist fight for a long time, but it's like they had half of the baton. It's time for the true kingdom of priests to raise up and take their place and to show and lead not only with the workings of Yahuwah and how this world works, but also you match it up in the scripture. So we all know the scriptures of giants. We all know Og Bashan. We all know of Goliath. We know of Noah and his time, the time before and the time after. We know of Enoch with the giants and all that. We all know the scriptures, but we don't know the science behind it. So that's what I'm going to kind of go into a little bit. So they talking about those stalactites taking all those years. What you're looking at here, this is actually in Austin, Texas. And it says these stalactites are growing in the garage of a private student condominium near UT campus at Austin, Texas. The name of the condominium complex is Centennial Condos on the corner of 28th and Rio Grande. This structure was completed in October of 1997. They have had to put up 10 attached to the beams of the garage in places so the stalagmites wouldn't grow on the kids' cars. Basically, they're telling us that these things grow thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It says, for a cave like this to occur, it's got to happen thousands and thousands of years. Yet this happened so rapidly, they had to put this little thing up here to catch the stalagmites to keep it from growing on these kids' cars that they have there. And so we can see, let's see if I can do that. So get more screen real estate. So these things grow rapidly. Then there's another experiment that they did in New Mexico in the Bureau of Geology here. I'm just going to read what they did. They basically took regular salt. They said they put it in a beaker full of deionized water and stirred in a mixture with a magnetic stirring bar. That's it's a machine that they have. And for those that don't know, it's got a magnetic a base, and you put the glass on top of it, and then you take a piece of metal, it's like a little bar, and you put it in the bottom of the solution, and it magnetically sticks to the center because there's a magnet underneath the device, and then the device starts spinning, and the magnetic field makes the little metal inside the thing spin. So it's how you can like basically stir stuff up without having something get stuck in it or whatever. They just stick the metal bar in it and stir it up from the bottom. So they basically did that to mix the salt water and stuff. And then they said they had the temperature of the lab at 75 degrees. The salt was dissolving. They took 20 ounces of a plastic pop or soda bottle with a plastic cap, and they epoxiated coarse sand to the top of the cap so the stalactite crystals would have something to adhere to once they started growing. So they basically made their own in-house experiment to make stalactites. They put salt water in these top bottles, and then they had it dropping into these little cups down here. So 2 weeks after them doing that, they were getting stalactites. After 2 weeks. But they tell you it takes millions and thousands of years. But after 2 weeks, they grew. And they got this big after just 2 weeks of that. So what it really tells you is that it's not the time that makes stalactites and stalagmites grow, but it's the conditions. It's what condition that it's in. And if the conditions are right, these things will grow rapidly. Now, this is a very is this the one I wanted? Nope, this was actually something. There it is. So this is why I wanted to get to the point here. Now, they've talked about petrification. Petrification is usually, again, the process that takes hundreds and thousands and millions of years for these dinosaur bones to get petrified and put into these little places and stuff and to come out a hard rock how they are. You get solid flesh to become hard rock. It takes thousands and millions of years and all this stuff. They use carbon dating and whatnot. You should research carbon dating, because carbon dating is probably the biggest scientific hustle that they pushed all during the 90s and early 2000s. They even still talk about it now, even though most scientists don't believe carbon dating. Only the ones that are like paid for TV, like the little clowns, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye the Science Guy and all these other science guys, the little Asian dude, I forget his name, all these big well-known science dudes who don't know anything, but they're just there to push the narrative. They all come and say the same stuff. So, but the people that are outside of them, they don't believe that. So there was this guy here. He found it was they talk crap about him because he was a creationist and the creationists latched onto it, but this was a boot that they found from the boot company. Where was it? I think I have it. I have just pulled it over here. There it is. It's called the Limestone Cowboy. So it's like, everybody has heard the story. We know absolutely for certain it takes millions and millions of years for fossils to petrify. It's so obvious that no proof is necessary, and of course, no witnesses verify. The claim is just repeated over and over, so we hear. Everybody knows that. Oh, yeah? How old do you think this boot could be? Millions of years old? I suppose it'd be made from T-Rex skin. He said it's a rubber-soled boot, and they actually got it verified. The boot was handmade by the M.L. Leddy Boot Company of San Angelo, Texas, which began manufacturing boots in 1936. Galen Leddy, nephew of the founder, grew up in the boot business, and he recognized the number 10 stitch pattern used by his uncle's company, where he worked for many years. Mr. Leddy believes the boot was made in the early 1950s. So this is the people that made the boot, and they've recognized the boot. Now, you can see the boot, the leather is perfectly fine. It's fine as you can see, but you see right here where things are petrified. Then we go back and then you'll get a better picture of it. See, the boot is fine. This dude was probably in a landslide. He probably got caught up in a mudslide or something. What they figured out and found that if the conditions are right, where there's no oxygen to get in, because oxygen is needed for bacteria. We were taught all our life bacteria was bad, but bacteria is actually a good thing. That's why they have you have those, kombuchas, where you have all the bacteria that you put back into your gut. You got bacteria in your mouth. You have bacteria really all over your body. That's good because bacteria breaks down the toxins and the negative things in the environment. Whenever you see a decomposing body, it's decomposing because the bacteria is breaking it down. It's a normal part of Yah's process of breaking everything down. The bacteria itself is not bad. It's the byproducts of the poison that the bacteria don't eat even themselves. They just eat the flesh and all the poison stuff they leave behind. That's all that muck and garbage that we see left over of decomposing. So if the bacteria can't get to it to break it down, then the flesh takes on the minerals of the land that's around it. So if this dude was in a landslide that was with limestone around it, that's why his leg and the body, you can see it right here, it came out like limestone, as hard as a rock. You can even see right here where all the holes for the what you call it, arteries, because you have your bones are porous, so the blood can flow through. So you have all the porousness here from all the bones where he was broken off at. But different things change at different rates. Of course, the leather being bound and done different is not going to go as fast as his leg did. So this was one thing that they found that, of course, nobody talks about because it goes against their narrative of millions and millions of years. So we know there was a flood in the earth. We know that the floods are perfect conditions to cause this petrification to happen. And we also know that because of what we looked at with the stalagmites and stalactites, all these processes that they've told us take millions and millions of years don't take that long. So how hard is it not to believe that these things that we're seeing here, is that one? That's the one. I don't want that one. I'll use this one. How hard is it to believe that these things are not the petrified bodies of the ancient giants that lived during the time of Noah? They were huge, colossal creatures. They were giants. They were big as skyscrapers, according to our time sizes, and even bigger. This here is it's called the Old Man Giant Rock. This is actually, that's why I pulled this up here. It's in New England, and it's a travel site. You literally, they even got it on the license plates in New England. You would come up there and you would see the Old Man of the Mountain. That's what they called him, Old Man of the Mountain. They had him on their license plates. They got the pathway up there. That was the mountain up there. Go up there. They had it was basically a tourist spot. They had little spots here. You could basically line up with all these black poles to see different views of the Old Man of the Mountain. This is one picture here. It's hard. I don't know if we can. Let's see if I can increase the size of it there, make it more visible to you guys. There you go. You can see it right there. This is them lined up with a pole where you get the side profile of this mountain. So this, again, they tell you that it was natural erosion. They say, it was natural rock, just the rock. Basically, erosion is when like wind and water slowly break away at rocks. And it just so happened to form this perfectly formed, look like a human face creature, outline. Now, one thing that's kind of in common that you'll find with a few other the ones that I've looked at, in recent times, the rocks have mysteriously collapsed now. And this is not too long ago. Like in recent times, it's collapsed. And this is like a well-known thing. People was coming out there. Like people literally had a funeral for the Old Man in the Mountain and everything because all the rocks collapsed. But it's just interesting, it's just a perfect collapse, how that happened right there. Nothing else went down. You still pretty much have like a lot of, you can see it like this is the top part here. And it's like just that little face part gone. Just out of there. And that was what they had with the Old Man in the Mountain. And they have, that's another one out of here. Got there. Now, here was another one. This was called the Native American face. And you found it when you went on Google Earth. This is a picture of it right here. But I can actually, this is a picture of Google Maps. You can see up here. That's why I used, I don't use PowerPoint and stuff. I know how to use PowerPoint. I don't like to because I like to pull up these things so people can see where I'm pulling stuff from. Because a lot of times people say, where you get this stuff from? This, it's to kind of go at the naysayers where you can see there's an actual website. I'm on Google Maps, and I'm gonna pull out right here. I'm just pull it out just so you can see. Yep, this is Google Maps. I'm over here in Canada, right over here in the United States. You can see it right there. And as I zoom in, right here.
Wow.
This road was new. This road that looks like the earpiece and like headphones or whatever, that road is new. At one point, that road didn't exist there, but this is in the Google Maps design right there. It's a actual park up there too, where you can go. They blocked it off, so you can't really go up in there. But there's an actual park that leads to all that. But this is the top view from Google Maps of this area.
Hey, Big Red, check this out. If you You see where the face is, right?
Yeah.
But if you look around it, like, what do those look like?
Oh man, you already know. Most of these riverbeds and stuff look like old roots.
But then don't those look like leaves?
Roots and leaves and stuff. Yeah. A lot of these places that they call asteroid impacts were actually the sites of the old waters of the deep, because the earth used to be filled by geysers and waters from the ground. It didn't rain from the sky, it came from the underground because there's waters in the deep. So a lot of these formations and stuff that we're seeing all formed from the death of these old leaves, these old trees, and these old giant creatures. Even smaller rocks and smaller things and stuff that we're seeing, there's a lot of these things are leftovers of old giant creatures. And it's all still there. This is the one, the giant head right there. This was another one. I want to show this one here. This dude here, you don't have to really hear what he's saying. I just want to show his what he shows it from. Again, this is Google Earth that he's using. This is, again, another Google thing. And what this is this is a giant shape. Now, this is the mouth of a cave. The cave is like about, I think they said the cave was like 15 feet or whatever, but they're saying this one, based on the estimates of the size of everything around it, it's like 60-something feet tall, because the cave entrance is 72 feet tall. Right, that's right over here. And then this thing here in the circle, they're saying is at least 65 feet tall, because that's the doorway to the cave right there. And then that's the figure. And again, for the naysayers, let me go ahead and play it. He's on Google Earth. Google Earth is a program that you can download. Everybody can download and look at it. It'll let you see the whole Earth. You can see Google Earth down there in the corner. And he's going to bring this here. He's going to go right to the spot. It's in Antarctica. Well, their version of Antarctica. And zooms right in. And bam, there it is. A giant creature sitting there, stuck right there. Nice. And wow. Google Earth got picking it up, and it's right there. Right there. It looks small, but that thing is huge. Because again, this is on a mountain, and it's like laying there halfway on the mountain. I wouldn't be surprised if they probably went there and excavated whatever it was. And went and picked that up. Then there's another one. They have a national park, the Sleeping Lady Mountain Resort. This is, again, another resort. They go up there. They have a whole big thing around it. Let me show you the Sleeping Lady. This is the Sleeping Lady right here. Let me zoom out a little bit. This is what they call the Sleeping Lady. Y'all just take a look at that and tell me what that looked like to you, brother.
Hold on. I can't really see it.
Let me back it up some more. That better? Do you see it now? Right here is the head. That's the nose. That's her chin. And that's the chest. And that's coming down the rest of the body.
Oh, okay.
It's a side profile of like a woman laying on her back. Basically, this is like the head, and this is the whole body profile. That's her chest, and then that's coming down right there. That's kind of like what they have right here. You can see it in this little picture here. That's the face, and then that's like her body, and then that's the actual mountain range right there. This is the face. That's her nose, chin, and then body coming down. This is a whole mountain range where you see that. And they call it the Sleeping Lady Mountains. People come up there, and then they view it, and that's what they got going on. Now, some of the giants, I don't know why and where this became canon, but they always want to teach that there were giants were nothing but men. There were women giants. There were females that came down, even amongst, there were female creatures that came down as the watchers, because a lot of these old deities that they talk about are female. They talk about old female deities, I mean, we got Tammuz. You got Asherah, the Asherah poles. You got a whole bunch of Christians that was getting they happy on with the Asherah poles today.
Wow.
Or a version of the Asherah pole. They can really get it on in Easter time, but this is like another version of it. But yeah, that's, again, knowing that process. If you had giant creatures and a sudden flood came about, or where they couldn't eat no more, they couldn't go about no more, or the water rose so much to the point where they died and they were stuck down for long periods of time under this water, then their body is going to take on the whole premise of everything that's around them. We got a lot of folks out here thinking they climbing mountains, but they ain't doing nothing but climbing the bodies of old dead giants.
Wow.
And there's more.
So we see, I guess we can understand during the flood why he said the waters rose so high.
Correct. The waters rose ridiculous. Even right now, in our realm, the waters are still high. Like we are in places that would be mountains if in the old earth. You know, there's so much under the water of earth that they don't talk about, that they don't even know about. Because there's mountain ranges underwater. There's still like volcanic activity and junk going on underwater. Like there's a lot of stuff going on underwater that's not just man-made. So the waters are definitely higher. And then weren't even as high as they used to be, because at one point they were so high that even in the mountains that we have today, there are fish fossils in the mountains. They still finding crustacean shells and fish bones and all sorts of different fossils high up in the Rocky Mountains and in the Andes and all these high places where how would the fish bones get up in the mountain? How would fish bones get up there and get that high? And then they have another one. This is called the Marcahausi Plateau, or Marcahausi Plateau. And this is another one that they have. Did I bring it up? No, I did. I think you can click on it. Yeah, to make it a little bit bigger to see if I can. No, I can't zoom in. But this one, you can still see it. You see it right here.
Yeah. You
see that one clear as day, where they have the different rock set up right there on the side. Then they have this one is in it's called Anfir Marb, the dead man, and it's in Irish, that means the dead man. And this is an island off of the Blasket Islands over in Ireland. Here again, you got somebody laying down like they drowned and fell down dead. You got their head right here and the rest of their body coming down right back there.
Man, now how dreadful is that? To even know that, I don't even want to go over there.
Yeah, that's what I've been and the whole time I researched this, bro. I'm thinking like, man, that is just the creepiest thing, to think that you're crawling on the dead body of an old ancient giant. And it really makes you wonder now why. It makes you not wonder, but actually understand why a lot of these pagan religions revere trees and nature and rocks and all this stuff, why they're always gathering rocks and saying that they possess power.
Wow. Man, and you notice a lot of these things are over in those places too, in places like that, you know.
Yep. Ireland is full of all that witchcraft and all that stuff. That's a heavy area.
Dead bodies. You going over there, tourists taking a vacation.
With a dead body. I mean, you got even this right here. I was like, man, people have climbed this mountain not knowing that they climbing on the dead body of an ancient being. The dead petrified remains, showing you really, and you can even look at it morbidly like that, but also this shows the power of the Most High. Like this is the power. This thing is what will we do against something this big? Imagine something this big. This thing is literally, its dead body is a mountain. And this is something that existed. And to the Most High, it ain't nothing but stone, but pebbles.
I tell you what, we get our 9mm, right? Get your 9mm with your banana clip. Right? And go out there and tickle her feet.
Exactly. She's like, oh, that's a good massage. My big toe feels nice.
Man, thank you for that. Now, my turn.
Right, yeah, exactly. Just reach down and just flick you with a pinky finger, and that's it. You done. Man. Boy, this mess is all out there. Another one. This one is called Giewant. It's in a place. It's called Mount Giewant, and they call it Tatra, the sleeping night. And it's another one. You got the head right here, and then the chest coming along down the side. Then they have name. Then you see they name them. This is called the sleeping night. This isn't nobody just saying, oh, you're just reading this weird, and oh, you're trying to see something where there isn't nothing. They literally call it the sleeping night. This is why I picked these particular ones, because they're tourist destinations.
Wow.
People literally come to these places, and they were known for the faces that they see. This is known as a place in Ireland. They know of this place, and people come there to look at. The lady, as you saw, it's a mountain resort. They call it the Sleeping Lady. These are all different things that they know of that they go there and look at. There's here's another one. They call it the Sphinx in Romania, and they call it the Romanian Sphinx, like in Gaza. Take a look at that.
Wow.
That looked like a whole skull. Now, again, then this is the ignorance of it all. This is the, hold on, what did he? Yeah, here it is. Yep, it's true. It's a natural rock formation created only by the wind's erosion. Y'all believe that was created by wind's erosion?
No, that looked like Benjamin Franklin.
It's a skull. You can see the eye. You can see the eye sockets here. It's a skull. You can see the nose part, right? That's why they call it the Sphinx, because the nose part is like broken off, and you can see teeth. There's literally little indentations of teeth. This is like a very well-preserved skull, and it's built into the rock. You can see, look at it for reference. You see over here, there's a woman sitting right here. There's a woman over there in white. You see it in the corner?
Yeah.
That's for reference how big that thing is. This is a skull, and this is a human woman sitting over there in the corner. And they want to tell you that erosion and water did that naturally. Natural wind and erosion. And people believe this nonsense. Natural wind and erosion created this.
A face.
A face. A whole face in the rock with the rocks. And this is the backside view of it. You can even kind of see it looks like a skull. You see the skull head, like you can almost see, because our skull is segmented. You can almost see the segments of the skull. It's like super preserved, super well preserved. And again, the people sitting on it for reference. This is just the head, and these are the people sitting there.
Hey, evolution did it, right?
Yeah, some of them big gorillas evolved into giants.
Man, for real, still walking around, huh?
They were just really, really tall gorillas that didn't make it to the league. So
yeah, they didn't get picked up.
They had nothing to do, so they just sat around.
Yeah.
Like it's foolishness. It's literally pure foolishness. And then that's it covered in snow. It's the same thing. And it looks more like a face with the snow on it too.
Wow.
And this is, again, it goes right back into what Yah said in the Enoch, when he told Enoch and how tall they were. The giants were huge. They were huge. They weren't just 16 feet, 12 feet. Some of them in Enoch's time were as big as skyscrapers, even bigger than that, because humanity was bigger back then, even given the point that when Yah opened up the windows of heaven, he changed things in the atmosphere, and he changed the oxygen levels in the earth. This is why after the flood, he said, my spirit will not always strive with man. I'm only going to give him 120 years. And you start seeing the lifespans gradually go down throughout the years after the flood, because Yah put a change in the atmosphere, because he saw that these angels was creating stuff, and it was creating these crazy huge beings like this. And he's like, I can't not just strive with man, but I'm not going to let them make these big monstrosities again no more. I'm going to make it so they can't come out here with all this craziness. And he changed the environment. Now giants like that couldn't exist. Our earth don't generate enough oxygen for that. They wouldn't be able to breathe.
Man, I think a lot of times too, when we think of the concept of giants, when we hear it, we're looking at it from a perspective of how we measure ourselves today.
Yes.
You know, so the average height of somebody back then would have been different than what it is today.
Yep.
What you think about that?
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely it. Like we, talked about even a bit earlier, there's other accounts of historians from Gentile nations that mention Noah, and they talk about Noah being 12 feet tall and calling him a giant. As a matter of fact, Brother TCA earlier even talked about Noah a little bit, and he said it somewhere. They said they found the tomb of Noah, and it was 12-foot tall bones.
Right. I actually, as a matter of fact, let me share something real quick with the fam. I'm gonna remove this real quick.
Yep.
Just hold that, and let me pull this up.
Yep. Yes. Yashadak had it 300 L's, and that's exactly it, because they measured like L's from the palm of your hand to your elbow. So for us, that's like what, like a foot or something. But if you 15, 20 feet tall, that's a different measurement.
Yeah. This is the book of Second Esdras, and I actually got a video where a guy is actually breaking that very thing down that y'all are explaining. But this is a passage. This is Second Esdras, and this is chapter 5. And I want to start at 46, because you're talking about over time, during that time, the stature of humanity was much bigger and taller because of the oxygen levels and all of that. And he even breaks that down. But this is a passage, Second Esdras chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 46. He said, "And he said unto me, ask the womb of a woman, and say unto her, if thou bringest forth children, why dost thou it not together, but one after another? Pray her therefore to bring forth 10 children at once. And I said, she cannot, but must do it by distance of time. Then he said unto me, even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their times. For like as a young child may not bring forth the things that belong to the aged, even so have I disposed the world which I created. And I asked and said, seeing thou hast not given me the way, I will proceed to speak before thee. For our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth now nigh unto age." In this particular passage right here, he's talking about the mother, speaking of Jerusalem. And you can reference that in the second chapter and the third chapter, where it talks about Jerusalem being a barren mother of her children, speaking of us. But it says, for our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth now nigh unto age. He answered me and said, ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, wherefore are unto they whom thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature? So in this verse, he's saying, ask the womb, ask the earth, why are the children that you bring forth now aren't like the ones before, but less of stature? And he said, and she shall answer thee, they that be born in strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. Consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you. And so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now began to be old, and have passed over the strength of youth. Then said I, Adonai, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature. So basically, he's saying over time, the earth is growing weak, and the weaker the earth grows, the less the stature of the people will be. And so during his time, he's telling him that the people that came before him, their stature was much taller than his, and how that the people that come after him, their stature will be less than his. And so this is a passage that sort of references how in the earlier times, the stature of the people was much, much taller and much more than what we see now. And so this is something that they hide from us. And so when we see these things, it's sort of far-fetched.
Bro, that verse was so on point. So on point. That in 48 of what you read. Can you bring that back up? I want to read 48 again. That 48, like even the whole thing was on point. The less in stature, because the Christians will turn around and flip it and admit, oh, he meant that they're not as important, or they don't hold, they'll try to like philosophize it instead of taking it just as it said. They are less in stature, and it's just like you said, the earth is weakening. The earth isn't making things like it used to. And I'm oh man, did I show the Man, I think there's one that I'm missing. I think I may have missing one, but I want to do 48. We said, then said he unto me, even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their times. You know, Nephilim means earthborn. The Nephilim were born in the earth. They weren't born in heaven. Their desire was to get to heaven. That's why you had the Tower of Babel and whatnot. They wanted to get to heaven to be in the true form of where their fathers and their fathers came from, and some of their mothers came from. They wanted to get there. And part of the punishment that Yah meted down to the angels, he's like, nah, they ain't never coming into the holy realm. They're going to be born in earth, and they're going to stay on earth. When they die, their spirit going to stay right there. And that's where we get the demons from. It's the remains of these giants. So that right there even confirms what he's talking about, even with these rocks, because you see it said they were born in the earth, in the womb of the earth, and they're sown in it. They stuck in the same earth that they came from.
Yeah. Right. What you just showed us.
Right there. Like, that's literally, like, that's it. I showed the science part. My man here had the scripture to back everything up, so everybody's satisfied.
Yeah. You know something? A lot of people will denounce and reject these passages. You see what I'm saying? But then when you get into these passages, you know, you sort of get more of a defined aspect of what you will read in the KJV, in my view.
That's true. Every one of the apocryphal sources that I've read match up to all of that of what you're talking about. Let me bring my screen up one more. I'm gonna even let me see if I got where's the one I wanted to show. Is the elephant on here? I don't have the elephant. There's one of an elephant. Dagnabbit. I must have lost it. See, I had an accident earlier where the let me see here. Hold on 1 second. I had one in here. It must have fell out. One of my previous saves of this, it deleted some of my tabs. I was so upset. There it is. There it is. Thank you, Yah. So this sucker here,
wow,
is called Elephant Rock, and it is in it's in Iceland. I just want to show that it exists, that it's a real place. I'm gonna get a better picture than this, but it's called Elephant Rock. It's a natural rock formation, quote unquote, of the Westman Islands archipelago, located approximately 7.4 kilometers off the Iceland south coast. So this place exists. This is real. This ain't Photoshop. This is a real thing. And then getting a better picture of it. Wow. That is the front of it right here. You can see clearly. You can even see how the rocks go to the side. It looks like the skin of an elephant. You have the sunk in for the eyes. You have the ear. This whole thing is a petrified giant elephant. And it talks about how even back then, we know we have the bones for giant creatures. They call them dinosaurs and all that stuff. But we know that there were animals and creatures that were huge in stature, just like the humans were huge in stature. And just like you said, as the earth is getting more and more sick with sin, it's weakening and its power coming down. And you can see this was the size of an elephant. You can literally see how the rocks are coming here on the side. Elephant skin has like that certain look to it where it has that texture. And you can see it all clear as day. The Most High left the breadcrumbs right in front of our face. We just believe the lies of these lying behind Europeans and their tap dancing boule slaves.
Wow.
It's right there in front of our face. You can't tell me that don't look like no giant elephant. And there's more of them out there. This was another one, a petrified giant elephant rock of them out there. This one is another. I think was that another one I think that's another mountain range that they have. I think that's the backside of it, actually, if I'm not mistaken. That's how it looks from an aerial view. From this bottom one right here. This is how it looks from like an aerial view from that rock. You can see it.
You can't miss that.
You can't miss it. You can, even from far away. This is another one, another elephant rock. That one's not as formed as the other one, but how in the world is a natural rock gonna make something look so precise? How? How could a natural rock make this thing look like an elephant, like sitting here with this thing coming down and everything? How? Like all of these different things is showing us all of this stuff. There was another one. that existed, but a rock slide. That's the one that went away that I had. It was oh, here it is, right here. Actually, yep, this is it right here. Thank you, y'all. This is it right here. This is the front view of it, right? This was another one that was shaped like an elephant, but a rock slide literally came, and you see right here on the right, it's like perfectly split in the middle. Mm. These some precise rock slides, man. I don't know.
Wow.
All the rock slides I see tend to be more jagged, and they have a little more, you can kind of see the breakage a little different. This here, I ain't gonna get into conspiracy theories, but it just look a little well broken. That's all I'm saying. It looks extremely well. But I mean, that
was the Big Bang. The Big Bang. Then be making some stuff perfect, man. Don't it? Man, they trying to mimic. They trying to bring that back. Now, man, what is this?
That's another face rock here. This one, you could tell that there was some stuff that broke away at it down here, but this is like another side profile of another rock that was there. You can see that it was a skull because, again, all the porous rocks, our bones are very porous for all the blood vessels and stuff that run in them. So you get these rocks here that are just porous like that. There's only one rock that I know of that's naturally porous, but it's not sturdy or nothing like this. Like a real sturdy rock wouldn't, a naturally porous rock ain't gonna stay sturdy like that. It's gonna fall apart. It's got holes in it. By its nature, it's not gonna stay together. Like this stuff here, there's another one. This is one in the cave.
Wow.
They got a whole bunch on this one. Was one of my favorites right here because it's got the elongated skull. And we got plenty of examples of small versions of the elongated skulls. But you see, again, the eye cavities. You see the nose cavity coming around, all now built into the natural form of the rocks. Just like y'all said in his word, they was born in the earth, and the earth was their womb, and that's where they stayed. They still right here. Their body's still here on the earth.
Boy, we see one thing they wasn't was models. They weren't the best looking.
I don't think that none of them was any nice looking jokers, man, because all the different things that I see, all the stuff that I, come across is like, I don't know.
Like, man, you really look like somebody just made you, dude.
Yeah, a lot of them. I mean, you can see a lot of different, especially when we start looking at Noah's birth, and when they're like, oh, Noah came out looking albino, and they freaked out and thought he was the son of an angel. So it's like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
And then when we look at certain people whose DNA is actually a genetic mutation, and then look at how some of them look when they're under certain conditions, we can start to get a good idea and a figure on how some of these things started looking themselves. Yeah. Just, on a smaller scale. These things were huge and also had other abnormalities going on. A lot of people will think that every giant in the Bible had to have 6 hands and 6 toes, 6 fingers, 6 toes. But that's not true because it didn't say in the Bible Goliath had 6 fingers and 6 toes. It talked about some of his kin did, though. And that's, there's sometimes our kids will be born with a trait that other kids won't. I'm the only child in my family that was born with red hair. I'm the only red one. My sister was red, but she don't got red hair. My brother was brown skin after my dad. I'm the only one with red hair. And my mom didn't have red hair. My grandma had red hair. So this stuff gets, just like how our genetics gets passed down in a way, the same thing happened to these giants. Because remember, they mated with humans. So their genetics is going to do the same thing. So some of them had 6 fingers, 6 toes. Some of them didn't have 6 fingers, 6 toes. Some of them had elongated skulls and some of them didn't. There was different tribes of men, just like there was different tribes of giants. We've seen that even back then with Og and all them. They was different tribes.
Yeah. Let me share something real quick. Check this out. Since we we dealing somewhat on the note of the creatures, the giant creatures and everything. This is something here we go.
Behind me is an oil-on panel painting done by Renaissance artist Peter Bruegel the Elder. The work is known as The Suicide of Saul and he painted it in 1562. It's supposed to depict the men of Israel fleeing the Philistines. But what it's most popular for is the fact that it looks like they're riding dinosaurs. Some even say that in relation to the size of the dinosaur, the men riding them could be giants. I don't know about you, but to me that looks like a brachiosaurus. So not only do we have dinosaurs, I noticed this in the middle of the painting. Take a look. It's pretty rough right here, but it looks to me to be a possible giant or a tall figure. So I took the image, enhanced it, and changed the shading a little bit. Now check it out. That's an obvious giant. He makes up about 3 of the soldiers walking on the ground. So did dinosaurs and giants actually exist in 1562? Let me know in the comments. Behind
Yeah, man. That's it. Then that was what? Philistines, yeah. A lot of them different groups, a lot of them ites of the folks, Amorites, all of them, they had giants amongst their ranks. That's why the Most High was telling our people to get rid of them. Like a lot of the a lot of the people that criticize the Bible say, "Oh, he was telling him to kill these people. He was wiping them out," because they don't understand that these people were the serpent seed. They weren't human. A lot of them weren't human. If they did have humans amongst them, they were mating with inhuman creatures. This was the norm and what they do. We know it even from Sodom and Gomorrah. This is why if they were gay and they just wanted, that's what a lot of people teach. They were just gay and they wanted to just have the 2 men that he brought in. If they were so gay and so hard up, how come they didn't go after Lot when Lot came out there? If they was just wanting to get some man flesh, how come they didn't jump on Lot? Why did they specifically want the angels? They knew what they were. They weren't dummies. They knew exactly what they were and who they were, and they wanted to experience some out of this world angel loving, and that's what they was after. They didn't even want the women. He sent the girls out there. They're like, no. We want them other ones that you got in there, because they knew this was a normal thing in their time.
They wanted that cosmic loving, huh?
Exactly. And this is what shows it, because again, the Philistines had Goliath. So how hard is it to believe that these pagan nations was running around with giants in their ranks? Because they was messing around with them. People think that y'all just hated Esau just because he was born with white skin. I hate they'll hurt people's feelings, but Esau was a brew and he had melanated skin. But what made him hate Esau was he mixed with foul creatures. He mixed with messed up nations, and he spread the seed that Elohim had given him with the nonsense. And then that's what that's what their thing was. You see it right there with them riding them things, looking like they riding Dino from Fred Flintstone.
Now, I took the liberty, and when I saw that, I went and looked and saw this, and that's obviously what we would call a dinosaur. But what's fascinating is this is depicted during the time of Saul.
Right.
And so if you see these creatures, and obviously you look who's riding these creatures,
Come on, man.
That's not Kareem right there, man.
Right. that ain't Yao Ming and LeBron.
That's the dude on Jack and the Beanstalk. That's him.
Mm-hmm. That's
but
it.
Then I guess what fascinated me is the fact that like I said, this is depicted during the time of Saul, and like you brought up when you was mentioning the Ark of the Covenant, that puts a whole nother spin on it, because they were fighting giants and all these different types of people back in this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can't fight these things is big, man. You see them dudes riding that. We see the bones from some of the stuff that they read. They may not be the exact representation, but it's close. I mean, that made me believe the brontosaurus bones a little bit more, especially seeing that dude riding that. We seen what them things look like. We see. Yeah. People should look up a weaver's beam. There's the one thing that I used to like about Perry Stone back in the day is he used to use like illustrations, and that's when I was in my Hellenized mindset. And I'll never forget when he did the thing about Goliath, and he brought out the spear the size of a weaver's beam. That thing was huge. It made him look like a little midget. He had to have the thing in the studio to help him hold it up. It was huge, and you got to do wielding this thing like it's it's a spear. That's his weapon. So that means he wielding it and shaking it and throwing it around like it ain't nothing. Like you see Bruce Lee using the bow staff.
Yeah, yeah. Let's check this out real quick. This is another one. Let me see. Which one is it? Yeah, let's check this one out. And this is fair use. This is not being monetized in any type of way. And so this is for the purpose of edifying the platform. All right. This is a portion of a documentary called Is Genesis History? All right. I recommend this documentary. I
started watching that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I recommend this documentary to the family. I'm gonna post the link for it too, but I want to play this portion real quick, dealing with the dinosaurs, and also kind of touching on the concept of that time concept that you wanted to get into. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this, and then we're gonna come back.
This is a fragment of a Triceratops horn. When we pulled it out of the ground, it fragmented. And then, of course, we've had to continue to fragment it in order to do analysis of it. In 2012, the Creation Research Society sponsored Mark Armitage and I to go to the Hell Creek Formation in Montana, which is a very popular place for finding dinosaur bones. And we instead dug out a almost 4-foot-long Triceratops brow horn. Now, it's just in crumbled pieces now, so we can't really, put it together and show you a horn. But yeah, you have to recognize that pieces such as this, we have found tissue with cells.
Oh, that's amazing.
And potentially proteins such as collagen. It's so difficult to understand how you could have this material still in a dinosaur fossil that is supposed to be 65, 75, 80 million years of age, because tissue, cells, proteins break down. They're not concrete. They don't just exist for eons of time. They break down. And in fact, they tend to break down fairly quickly depending upon the conditions. And certainly in Hell Creek, the conditions would be warm up, cool down, warm up, cool down. And any biochemist can tell you that is the fastest way to destroy material. It's difficult enough to envision it surviving for 4,000 or 5,000 years, but 60 million years, 70 million years, see, that really becomes very difficult to make any kind of biochemical basis for how it could have survived.
Okay, so once you find a sample like this, what do you do next?
So what we do is we soak the fossil material in a solution called EDTA. And what you'll have after you dissolve the fossil is the tissue will be remaining because the EDTA won't dissolve the tissue. So then I'll bring this over to what we call a dissection microscope. This is, in essence, dissolved Triceratops horn magnified. And so you can see what it looks like, just kind of little pieces of rock.
Well, Kevin, what did you find then when you were looking at the sample and you actually found some tissue?
Okay, here's what we found. This is actually Triceratops tissue. It's stretchable, it's pliable. It's not an impression of the soft parts of the dinosaur. This is truly soft. It is squishy. It is stretchable. It is tissue.
That blows your mind, huh?
Absolutely. And if you look at them then at a closer magnification, what we see then, this is using scanning electron microscopy, you see the extreme detail of the cells. See, in that picture and this picture, and particularly like look at this picture, we would not begin to expect to see such enormous and elaborate detail. I mean, these structures are incredibly small. This is our 20 micron bar here. See how small these structures are, still intact. It would take very little to break those. So at best, you would expect that all that would have broken off and been long gone.
So that has to have shaken up the scientific community. What's been the response of all of this?
The initial response, when Dr. Schweitzer first published her work, which is what became very popularized in 2005, it generated a lot of response. And so initially, some of the reaction was rejection. Oh, it's contamination. You know, that's not really dinosaur. It's bacteria, because bacteria can look kind of strange sometimes. So you had a lot of proposals of what it could be. And to her credit, Dr. Schweitzer did more work. They began to find protein. You break open some of these cells. You look at the matrix these cells are attached to, and they're protein.
Okay, so once that is understood,
yes,
then what happens? Now this is shaking it up, I guess.
That becomes part of the controversy, because clearly you're now faced with how could you explain the survival of this, the pristine survival of this, not only for so long, but in very unpristine conditions. And so then the controversy has been, how do you explain it? And if you read some of the literature, there's almost like desperation because they recognized what the implications of this could be. Now, some people would claim, well, it means nothing because we know how old they are, and therefore it just means it survives somehow, big deal. But how do you know how old they are? Well, you use methods, supposed methods of dating. Well, this is a method of dating. The tissue itself can't be discounted as part of a method of dating. So why do you say that doesn't count, but this does count? Well, it's all the paradigm drives your conclusions. The paradigm is it has to be old. Therefore, methods that give us an old fossil are what we choose. Something that doesn't give us an old fossil, like tissue, we have to reject or explain away.
At least to me, and of course, I'm not a microbiologist, but I think most people would say, well, that just seems reasonable to think that maybe these are not that old.
Clearly, this is in violation of the dating process. It challenges the entire dating process. If the fossils of dinosaurs have been dated incorrectly, which I would say this is clear evidence they have, then it's very likely the fossils of any organism have been dated incorrectly, and therefore then the geologic ages themselves are incorrect.
What you're saying is that if you pull out the notion of a long period of time, you're pulling out a major foundation for the conventional paradigm.
Absolutely. In fact, time is the critical component for evolution. If you're going to say that a simple cellular system became a multicellular system that then became fish, and the fish then jumped up on land and grew legs and started breathing air, and then that creature grew feathers and wings and started flying. So if you give us time, we'll claim to account for all of this massive change of organisms, but we got to have the time.
Everything seemed to come back to the question of time. I remember.
Brother Yash, you owe me 35 push-ups for that comment, man.
Man, that just had me rolling. His cat said he probably licked it. Oh man.
He probably looking at it like, man, he looked like he did.
Man, he do. Man, that's funny though, because I looked at it too, and I'm like, he probably did. He looked around and was like,
man. But what you think, bro? I mean, that kind of touched on what you mentioned about the time aspect, but what you think, you know, based on that and what we saw?
That was completely on point. And this is why discoveries like this don't make mainstream media, because anything that goes against their narrative, well, people got to understand science is a religion. It's not about, you know, when we grew up, they told us it's about hypothesis and, you know, theories were just that, a theory. And you didn't teach a theory like it was a law because the law was agreed upon and repeated. And none of that is in place right now. People just say stuff and people just say, oh, well, he's a PhD, so I believe it. Oh yeah, he's a scientist. Why should I doubt him? He's gone to school for 19 years and has all these degrees and lauds and has the square of Saturn on his head as he went out of his knowledge school. Like they tell you all that stuff to regale you with this nonsense because these people lying. It's just like you said. They want it has to have millions and billions of years because it don't match their narrative. None of the stuff that we see with our eyes matches the narrative that they've been telling us.
Man. And another thing too, the Smithsonian, a lot of archaeologists, they have to report to the Smithsonian because the governments are the ones who fund these excavations and these different things. And so they're not necessarily searching to see if the Bible is true. They know all of that. What they're trying to do, in my view, and it could be, another explanation to this, but they're trying to change the narrative of what's true. They're trying to change the landscape. They're trying to find resources and treasures and different things like that, in my view. What you think?
That's absolutely it. You'll see that before, and this is why I guess I get frustrated even in the Hebrew community, because we'll believe and see how the Gentiles changed the time in history in regards to our history. We'll see how everything before the 1800s was shifted and changed in the 1800s, but we don't see that in everything else in life. All of a sudden in the 1800s, when they was changing the history about us, they also was changing the history of the world. Jesuits, who are demonic as all get out, and also the founders of this company, but they don't want to call them Jesuits, they call them pilgrims, but they wear the same stuff and believe the same things. That's a whole nother topic. But they all of a sudden got an interest in science and astrology in the 1800s. And all the major stuff that turned us away from the old way of believing the Bible's cosmology of the realm not being a flat realm and a non-round circular globe spinning 666,000 miles an hour around the sun. they changed all that all of a sudden. All these Jesuits came in and got interested in math and started proposing gravity and all this other stuff, and people was running with it because they was at these universities, they was teaching, and they was coming against all the other stuff, and they had the big money boys throwing money behind them, and that's how they changed the narrative. Just like you said, they put money in there, and that's how they change the narrative for everything, because they can go in there and basically say, okay, if you're not researching this approved thing, then you get no funding.
Man. And so it's like you have two different groups. You have a group that will attest or will agree with the things that's biblical, or they would, agree that this is biblical, but then they'll just come behind it with another group and just predate everything that they find to a different time period.
That's it.
And that's what he was talking about, the system of dating. It's untrustworthy in my view. And I don't, even when we talk about time periods, when it pertains to our history, I don't like using their system of dating, because, we don't know. We know that back then they didn't see the times as we see them now.
Correct. We measure everything by the sun. They measured it by the moon.
So it's a lot of things that go into play. The earth was different back then. Did you had something else you want to bring out?
Oh no, that's actually worked out perfect. I just rounded up what I had. Perfect. That was the extent of most of the things I wanted to show. I wanted to show the workings of Yah's side of things and how the natural realm matches his word, because a lot of times it's just words on the page to us, and we don't use our eyes to see the fulfillment of his word all around us.
Absolutely. What we'll do, I want to read this passage in Esdras, and after we read this, we can go ahead and close out if you want, and maybe do a part 2, because I'm sure it's a whole lot of other stuff. I know I got a lot of stuff to bring
Oh
out.
yeah, man. There's all kinds of stuff, man. I talked about it a bit on Tail, but I still haven't gone in about the cathedrals and all of that stuff. And as I'm, those type of things take time because it's a kind of a non sequitur. I say it that way because it's non-conventional type of study. So you gotta study many different things and bring it all together, because the way y'all designed this world is so crazy, man. How everything is related. Chemistry and engineering are almost the same discipline. Our bodies are like circuits. It's crazy when you start bringing all that stuff out, and it really verifies a lot of things Yah tells us in the word about what to eat and what to do and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
man.
not crazy. It's wisdom. It's his wisdom.
Yeah, I know what you mean though, because it's beyond what we're trained to think and believe. And then even when you get into it, you start to realize there's a certain simplicity that has been complicated, for us to where we can't grasp it in a way,
Yeah.
How were they doing the things that they were doing? Long story short, they were more advanced back then than we are now. Way more advanced.
Facts. They don't know how they moved all those blocks to Egypt, but they do know that now that with certain vibrations and with certain ways of vibrating sound, you can move things. And then they just literally this year found out that there's a new dimension to sound, essentially. Like sound doesn't just go in the way that they thought it goes. They discovered a new way for sound. It's hard for me to even explain it. But basically, it's like 3D sound, essentially, like a new dimension in sound. So even what we thought we understood with how audio works is not even right. And if there's a new dimension in sound, then what kind of scientific stuff that this could what kind of secrets could this unlock with knowing this new thing?
Wow. And then just think about how powerful sound frequency is, how they can use it to heal your body and everything,
Yep.
How it's manipulated through music to get your body to respond and to, activate certain frequencies within your body.
Right.
Like, wow. But man, we definitely gonna have to do a part 2, maybe even a part 3, a part 4. I mean, because it's so much, man. And I'm sure brothers and sisters can get the idea, but it's so much even written, not in the scriptures and in certain other extra biblical texts that line up with everything that we touched on tonight. And so, this is something we could have you here all night for, but it's definitely something we could break up and deal with. That's something you'd be up for?
Oh yeah, that's I love talking about the wisdom of Yah, man, because it just, when you really understand and see how everything just so intelligently works together, how, I mean, just like just for as far as your body's like a circuit, and you can literally eat and consume things that'll short circuit your body, just like you would short circuit a actual piece of equipment that's running, certain type of circuitry through there. Just the same exact premise, but just under different things. And it's just crazy how when you start digging into things, how literally there's a phenomenon called the golden ratio. I always talk about this because it's just Yah's signature on creation, and it's just, I mean, it's him flexing. There's nothing else. He flexing. He flexing on everybody, letting them know just how amazing he is. And I love it because you see the golden ratio in literally everything, from growth patterns to animals, from number sequences, from how things even grow, how the plants grow and how the plants look. Different frequencies and magnetic frequencies affect the patterns in plants, animals, and even how trees grow. Like, it's crazy how much frequencies, vibrations, and all this stuff affect us that we don't even know. Kanye recently said something. I don't advocate for that dude because he owns some other stuff, but the devil will tell you the truth in the midst of him trying to deceive you. You know, when he was talking to Yahusha in the wilderness, he quoted scripture. he knew scripture, he knew the truth, but he was quoting it in a way to lead to deception. That's what makes it demonic. So you got to always, listen to these jokers that come out from these, especially ones like him that literally said they sold to the devil, because they'll tell you some truth in order to deceive you. And one of the truths that I know he told was because I've always been telling people that vibrations and music is deeper. And he literally said it. He talked about the 808 and how the 808 taps into a low frequency. He's like, our old drums used to be higher tone drums, higher frequencies. These lower frequencies, 808, tap into different things and cause different effects in your body. And it's true. When you listening to music that has a talking about the love of Yah, you get a different feeling. If you're in an angry mood and you listening to angry music, guess what's gonna happen?
Wow. Yeah.
And it's not just the content of what they're saying, it's even the music itself. There's certain songs that even the actual tones and beats and the sounds that they're making will have an effect on you and you don't even know it.
Yeah, I've even seen different testimonies of brothers saying that before they went and did something, that was violent, they had to hear a certain song, before they went and done it.
Yeah, I heard a brother, that's fun. That's so crazy because I know a brother that came out of some crazy stuff too, and he told me the same thing. He told me the same exact thing. I remember he told me one time, he said they was riding to go do something. It wasn't nothing super crazy, but they was riding to go do it. And he said they was listening to the Lil Wayne song, I Feel Like Dying. And he was like, man, that's when I started to realize, and he started to turn his life around because he's like, he could heard the song, and he's like, everybody in the car was like in a trance.
Wow. Yeah.
This junk real, man. They know and they understand this, and they use it against us all the time, whether it be through food and their understanding of chemistry, or even as we see through history and how they want to tell us all these millions and billions of years. They tell us this stuff to get us to make us feel like Yah is not there. They want us to feel like we're just some tiny little thing and we're insignificant when Yah is literally sitting there right above the firmament looking down on us, concerned about what's going on. Humans are the center. He made the earth for us. He made the earth, all of this. He made this for us. These angels came in and did the nonsense and they jumping in and getting in it, but the earth was designed for us. That's why our body comes from it and the earth sustains us.
Absolutely. The Most High created all mankind, and he particularly made the earth for Israel, and we can read that throughout Deuteronomy and even in Esdras, but let's check this passage real quick, and this will be what we'll close out with for this session. This is 2nd Esdras 4:1. It says, and the angel that was sent unto me, whose name was Uriel, gave me an answer and said, thy heart hath gone too far in this world, and thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High? Then said I, yea, Adonai. And he answered me and said, I am sent to show thee 3 ways, and to set forth 3 similitudes before thee, whereof if thou canst declare me one, I will show thee also the way that thou desirest to see, and I shall show thee from whence the wicked heart cometh. All right, so this kind of seemed similar to what we read in Job somewhat. All right. And so what he's telling them here is that your heart has gone too far to think that you can comprehend the things of the Most High. And this is sort of the mindset that we see in our enemies. When they try to explain things to us about the heavens and what's going on in the constellations in outer space, what they're doing is manipulating you, because the Most High hasn't given them access to these things. That's if you believe that or not. Like we seen, they have a way of explaining and making us believe what they want us to believe. You know, just tell you a billion years, you know, happened 6.2 billion years ago, you know. And it's funny because the earth is 6.2 or however many 60 billion years old, however old they say it is, but they can't find a language that's older than 5,000 years old. So what in the world was they doing for what's 5,000 from 60 billion?
Right. And that's how they get you. They put out these crazy, huge, weird numbers that's like, man, you know, how in the world? But it's not. It's really, in all honesty, I really truly believe that we're really not too far away from the death of Yahusha. Like maybe a couple thousand years, if that. We're not too far away off from his death. When you start looking at after his death and all the things that started to transpire and the things that went down, like it's a lot of stuff that we see in history times. Because not too long after his death, Rome fell.
Absolutely. And that's why I was going to say, all you have to do is subtract 70 from, what year is this? 2021. Subtract
2021.
70 from 2021. What you come up with? You come up with like 1900 years, almost 2,000 years.
Yep.
2,000, 1951 years. And so if you subtract maybe what, 30, 40 from that, that'll put you around the time of the Mashiach. How many years ago that was?
Yeah. I truly believe that. It's always been within like 2,000 years. I don't believe it's really been, you know, over, like you said, within 2,000 years. I didn't believe it was anything more than that because they wanted to make it seem like it was so ancient and so long ago, but it's really not. It's really not when you really start looking at the history of things. And even there's a place called Göbekli Tepe in Turkey that was discovered by a farmer. He thought it was a rock, and it turned out to be a pillar from an old temple complex that they dug out. And they dated it and they put it there during their normal dating. The time of it is during the time where they say in science that it was hunter-gatherers on Earth. Well, hunter-gatherers did not get into organized societies. Hunter-gatherers didn't have temples and places of worship and whatnot. They just hunted and gathered. That's all they did. But this goes against their whole theory because here's a whole temple complex that's dated to that time frame. So they do what they always do. They just ignore it. They ignore them.
Try to explain it away or ignore it. Watch this. He said, I'm in 5. And I said, tell on Adonai. Then said he unto me, go thy way, weigh me the weight of fire, or measure me the blast of wind, or call me again the day that is past. Then answered I and said, what man is able to do that thou shouldest ask such things of me? And he said unto me, if I should ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea. We didn't even get into this part. Or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep. Or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament, or which are the goings out of paradise. We're going to get into all this. But he said, explain all this stuff to me, right? Verse 8, peradventure thou wouldest say unto me, I never went down into the deep, nor as yet into hell, neither did I ever climb up into heaven. Nevertheless, now have I asked thee, but only of the fire and wind, and of the day wherethrough thou hast passed, and of the things which thou canst not be separated, and yet canst thou give me no answer of them. He said moreover unto me, thine own things, and such as are grown up with thee, canst thou not know. Right? So the very things that we grow up with, we don't even know. You don't know that's a dead body that that you climbing.
It's true, man. It's so true. A lot of these rocks and stuff out here is old, dead, petrified humans, petrified animals, and people got them and they just putting them on their rings and putting them around their neck because they look cute, but they got the dead, petrified body of an old creature around their neck. You got people thinking that the moon will charge juices into the old remains of these rocks and stuff like that because, you know, some of them doing it just because they do it, but they didn't learn the true secret of it. It's just like, man, that's so on point. People don't know what they're dealing with. People use electricity every day and don't even understand how it works.
Man, just plug it into the wall, right?
Right. It's to them, it's just magic. It's just supposed to be there.
I know. Look, I know how it works. You pay for it. You cut it on, and it better work with me anyway, because I'm gonna be mad, especially if I pay for it.
For real, man. It's a lot of stuff that we don't even understand, you know, how electricity works. Like, do you know that we don't even need to have wires for electricity? The way that they wired the electrical grid up right now was unheard of in the time of Tesla. Nikola Tesla, during his time, people was talking about setting up power grids, but nobody in their right mind wanted to do anything with wires because they said it was impractical and it was stupid. And Tesla literally found a way to wirelessly beam electricity to different buildings. We do it now. There's a place where it was years ago, man. It's like 2014, 2012 almost. And there was this college university where they were doing wireless electricity in their lab. They literally had everything in their lab wired up to work wirelessly. You could walk around, it wouldn't hurt you or nothing, and everything just worked. Wow. You didn't have to plug nothing in. They had these special plates and stuff that they were building into everything so it could receive the electricity, and it just worked.
Yeah. And then, you know, they got solar power and all of that. So it's ways to generate electricity, you know, that we don't know about. That's more on a commercial scale now, though, with the solar.
Correct.
Everybody got access to it.
And even then, the solar they give us is not as efficient as it could be.
Yeah.
So whenever they release anything to us, it's always, you know, the low end garbage version, not the actual good rate. Because if people had really good solid solar, then they would disconnect from the system altogether. You can even do it now. But even if you have solar, if I put solar in the house right now and I generated enough for my house, I can't disconnect from the system. I still have to be connected into their grid.
Yeah. And I think I know why they do that. When I moved to Missouri, this guy was telling me that he generated his own electricity and he was able to make money back from the city because of that. So that's probably why, just to slow that down.
Not even, I don't really think that. They just want everybody on their system so they can keep tabs on you. Because, yeah, it's cool to get money, back from, because I knew a guy that did the same thing too. He had his system hooked up and his excess that went into the grid, they took it. So that's one reason that they want it, because they can't generate enough power by themselves. This is why in a lot of areas they do rolling blackouts and stuff like that, because they can't generate enough power. And they'll take power from people that generate it. There's actually a Hebrew brother I met down here. His whole family bought land in Texas, and they put a solar farm on it, so that way the land would pay for itself.
Wow. And they, that happened here, but that was during the, when everything was bad. But yeah, man, check this out. He said, thine own things and such as are grown up with thee canst thou not know. How shouldest thy vessel then be able to comprehend the way of the highest? And the world being now outwardly corrupted, to understand the corruption that is evident in my sight. So in other words, there's a level of corruption that you don't even want to know about. See, that I see, but there's corruption in your own realm that you don't even know about, that you can't really deal with. So how can you handle the things of the highest? If we If we know and our understanding how filthy the earth is, imagine what the Most High sees. If he's telling us our righteousness is like filthy rags, we don't even want to know.
I often think about what our ancestors would think if they saw the earth now. Like if we could bring Noah back now or Seth to now so they could see how the earth looked, how they would think.
Yeah, but then we can go in their records and read how they describe. If we go in the records of the 12 patriarchs, and they tell you what they saw, how corrupt their children will be in the last days, how corrupt things will be in these times, you know?
Yeah. When Adam died, it was around the time when the earth was filling up with violence before the angels came. So he was seeing how just ridiculous the earth was. And that's one of his last things that he saw when he passed away was how the earth was getting wicked. And that you can imagine how he felt knowing that was he brought in all that, man. Woo.
We're going to get into that account too. It's a lot, man. Check this out. He said, then said I unto him, it were better that we were not at all than that we should live still in wickedness and to suffer and not to know whereof. He answered me and said, I went into a forest, into a plain, and the trees took counsel and said, come, let us go and make war against the sea, that it may depart away before us, and that we may make us more woods. The floods of the sea also in like manner took counsel and said, come, let us go up and subdue the woods of the plain, that there also we may make us another country. That the thought of the wood was vain, for the fire came and consumed it. Wow. The thought of the flood of the sea came likewise to naught, for the sand stood up and stopped them. If thou wert judged now betwixt these two, whom wouldest thou begin to justify, or whom wouldest thou condemn? I answered and said, verily, it is a foolish thought that they both have devised. For the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea also hath this place to bear his floods. Then answered he me and said, thou hast given a right judgment, but why judgest thou not thyself also? For like as the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea to the floods, even so they that dwell upon the earth may understand nothing but that which is upon the earth. And he that dwelleth above the heavens may only understand the things that are above the height of the heavens. I want to stop there. And so just letting us know that there's so many things in the earth, so many wonders in the earth that we don't even know about. There's so many things in the oceans and in the waters that the Most High has reserved for us as a people that we don't even know about.
Man, Brother TCA was just talking today. It's so crazy that he went to this scripture too, because he was just talking today about the old trees and the floods. And, you know, trees, which is a thing that we know, trees help prevent floods because they soak up all the water. So with them talking about gathering the wood and bringing the wood in to fight against the seas, that's what they're talking about building trees and building these trees up to basically soak up the water to fight against flooding.
Yeah. Sandbags.
Yeah. Y'all say you doing all this extra, but you don't even know what you're doing. And even that part right there where they was talking about them living in the heavens, like when you read in the Mahabharata, they talked about how the old sons of the angels used to live in the heavens. They had built these flying ships called Vahamas. And they also have lots of stories about flying, floating cities and cities in the sky.
Man.
About how they dwell in the heavens and sit up in the heaven realm.
Man, then you have Notice he said you have great dwellings in the midst of the sea. You know, I believe that, you know, like I mentioned before, you have maybe two or three different sources that'll say anywhere from 75 or 80%, upwards of 80% of the world's waters, oceans, and seas that haven't been discovered.
Yep.
And so when you look at how they educate us and make us think that they have all this knowledge and everything of the whole world, that makes me think and believe that either the Most High has blocked some things off, or either they have run into some things that they have to reconsider going to check on again.
Yeah, they don't understand it all. There was and I'll probably bring the video for this on the next time, but they found rivers underwater.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, they've gone underwater and found underwater, denser water rivers where they couldn't break through. They thought it was something down there, and then they're submersible. They tried to go down and they bounced off of it.
Yeah, I actually hold on real quick. This might be what you're talking about. Let me see.
Because it came from a documentary. It was one dude, and he was talking about it, how they tried to go down. I think that might be it.
Check this out. Hold on.
One of the most amazing things that I had ever seen in the bottom of the ocean. It was while filming for Blue Planet. It was in the Gulf of Mexico. And inside the ring of mussels was a lake. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm already underwater. And we went out over the water in this lake and tried to descend in it and bounced off. It was so super saline and dense that the submarine couldn't go down in it. We literally bounced off. And as we bounced off, we sent ripples heading back to the shoreline. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it.
Coincidentally, a few days after this aired on the television that he had made this discovery, when him and his friend were flying the helicopter, it exploded and he died.
I didn't know dude was dead, though. That's exactly the video. I didn't know he died.
So dude found water underwater, and all of a sudden he ended up dying.
Off of a helicopter blowing up on some week, man. Look, sound like they Kobe Bryant him. They gave him that Kobe Bryant.
Sound like you know, kind of like how they talk about Antarctica. How it's only so far you could go into Antarctica before you. But see, they can't do that with the water.
Facts.
You know?
That's true. And you know, the way it is, not everybody has the resources to go down there like that.
Exactly.
So if they get rid of a person like that, that's, you know, not only are they sending a signal to let people know, hey, stay in your lane, but they also just got rid of somebody that had the money to go down there and do that. That's why I tell people they don't let certain people get like a certain level of money for a reason. Because if I had money like your boy over at Tesla, Elon Musk, you best believe I'm finna build some submersibles and we going down there.
Yeah.
And I'm recording it and I'm putting it out for everybody. And I'm gonna make it so everybody can see. And we're gonna go down there and it's gonna be like, you know, because people like that want the truth will do that. So they make sure they get their people that they can control. And if they can't control you, then your plane mysteriously or your helicopter mysteriously blows up.
Yeah. Or your food, some happened with you OD or something in the bathtub.
Exactly. Or you like Jerry Epstein, you know, you hang yourself with a small belt in the middle of maximum security prison with guards all around you.
Yeah.
I think there was one dude, actually, the one dude that brought up the whole thing about the CIA putting drugs in the Hebrew neighborhoods. He shot himself in the back of the head 2 times.
2 times. Wow.
Yeah, he had 2 bullet hole wounds, and they called it a suicide.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
he must have really wanted to do that.
Oh man, he
sure.
He wanted to make sure he was gone. He was just so tired of the world. He double tapped. His soul came back into his body just to pull the trigger again to make sure.
Man, I'm telling you, why not, right?
Crazy. That's the exact same video, but I didn't know that dude died. And you know what's crazy? A lot of NASA scientists die in the same way. Like there's literally, I think at one point it was deadly to be a NASA scientist because there was a string of NASA scientists that were committing suicide and having these crazy accidents. I wonder why. Maybe they were finding out. They found that firmament and they're like, oh, you know too much.
Hey, I guess I'd rather be a nigga than an astronaut, huh?
Man, shoot. Most of these astronauts, man, that's probably something I'm gonna bring up even on the next one about some of these astronauts and the stuff that they have. They had the dude that went on the moon mission and they asked him how come we don't go back, and he's like, oh, it's because we got rid of the technology. Yeah, we got rid of it, but I would love to go back. We should totally if we could get it back. That's his exact word. They gave it away. I'm like, so you want to tell me it was a space race for them to get up there over the Russians, and then as soon as they get there, they're like, well, we got here. Now let's get rid of everything.
Yeah. I think they found the end of the earth, man. When they went over there. Because dude was talking about how the helicopters was exploding. You know, they not helicopters, but the jets they had was exploding out of thin air, and they thought they was being attacked. Say, nah, they was hitting the firmament.
You couldn't go no further. They thought they can go further. Now there's more land out there that they talking about. That's what Admiral Byrd was talking about with Operation High Jump. And because they asked him straight up, they're like, well, since we've, how the old 1950s white folks talk, well, Admiral Byrd, since we've discovered Antarctica, would you say that there's any other lands out there for us to find out? And he's like, well, Jim, I just want to tell you that when I went out there, there's actually more land out there. So I want these young people to know that there's absolutely more land. There's extended lands out there to be explored. He literally said it. There's more land out there outside of Antarctica. This is why we can't agree. The whole nations can't agree on nothing. But all the nations collectively, I'm talking about even the little stands and all the other ones, agree that Antarctica is off limits.
Wow.
Everybody agree on that. Nobody can agree on nothing else, but they all agree not to go out to Antarctica. And now that everything melting down there, you got Russia, China, and the United States beelining out there. All of them. That's another quiet little thing that's happening that they're not really telling nobody. They out there building bases like crazy. Russia got the jump on them because, it's already in the area. But China and the United States out there beelining, trying to build bases in Antarctica. Why? What's out there that they got to build bases and they want to be out there so much?
Think about this, man. You know how the Most High guarded the Garden of Eden from Adam and Eve once they sinned? It said he sent a flaming sword and a cherubim to guard the way, right?
Right.
Do you think that maybe they are having encounters like this when they go into certain areas, certain places?
The garden is a spiritual area, so I know that they wouldn't be able to get back into there because y'all got them out. But they're probably going and encountering some of these old creatures and some of these old races. Herodotus talked about the Arimaspoi. That's what they call them. They were basically the one-eyed Cyclops men that fought the Griffins for gold. He talked about the Hyperboreans that's what they call it, Hyperborea, like the Aurora Borealis. They were the Hyperboreans who were advanced and they lived up in this area during that time, which I believe is where some of these elongated skulls and stuff come from. These are some of the holdouts of the old sons and daughters of the Nephilim and some of their creations, the monsters that they created. They talk about in the Book of the Giants that they found in the Dead Sea Scrolls right next to all the other, 66 books. For folks that be like, oh, it's Dead Sea Scrolls. Well, they found that right next to books of Isaiah and Genesis. So whoever was reading this was reading all of it collectively together in their collection of scrolls. So they talk about how they had monsters and giants gathering together, about because they was having dreams about their upcoming demise. They were seeing tablets getting submerged in water and coming up with just a few names on it. So all of this stuff was definitely real. And some of these had holdouts because they said there were giants in that time and the time after. So we know that there were some more that was after there, and we can see even some of these things. And like you said, I'll probably go more into these in part 2. But when you look at these so-called cathedral buildings, they're literally all over the planet, and they're all the same. I'd say the only country that doesn't have them the same way is India. India has some that are similar, but they're different. But everywhere else, they all are the same. They all look the same from here in America to in Europe to even in South America. Oh, they don't have them. But the funny thing is they're not in Africa, but they're everywhere else. We don't have any of those cathedrals and stuff. The ones they have in Africa are the actual ones that the Europeans built, and they look totally different. They're nowhere near as nice as the ones that we have like over here. All these different universities and different places that they built in these cathedrals. We know that they're old, and it was from an older civilization that probably still exists. And I believe that a lot of these folks is even in contact with some of these civilizations because they ultimately want to work together to bring back these fallen angels. Like my personal opinion, when things start getting crazy, they're gonna do a hoax for aliens. And they're going to have like aliens is landing and communicating and talking to people. And they're going to talk like these folks is from a whole nother planet. But what they really are is they're from the lands beyond Antarctica. And it's these descendants of these ancient beings that existed already. And they're going to come and tell people, oh, well, we were here before and we created you and we seeded there's some little stupid lie that, people will eat up and be like, oh, they came from the sky. And then, here we go, transhumanism agenda. Wow. I truly believe that, though, that's what it is that they are in contact with these old races that still exist. They still exist. You still have people hearing like cryptids and all that kind of stuff. Some people talk about, what they call them, skinwalkers and all those type of things. These creatures still exist.
That's funny, man. My wife tells me about her most of her family is from the islands, and so she tells me about stuff that her family told her grandmothers and people in the islands told her about skinwalkers. Yeah.
Really? Even in the islands they talk. That's interesting. I thought that was something that mainly just what they call Native Americans here, but they really from Russia. I call them the Russian Asians that made it over the ice shelf and came here. They talked about them a lot. I didn't know they had them in the islands too. That's interesting.
But she said that what they used to do is people would shed the skin or whatever, and she said that they would put salt in the skin to see who it was, because whoever get back in it would have boils. It sounds sort of far-fetched, and maybe that's not exactly how it is, but
correct. But it's based on something that's real.
Yeah, it's real enough for people to, then Negroes, man, we superstitious. Step on your crack, break your mama back, all that kind of stuff. That's what we grow up with. But there's an element to some of this stuff that is true.
Absolutely.
And it's historical. And I think we should not press ourselves about it, but be educated, because we living in a time where the Most High, or the Mashiach, said the end times will be like the days of Noah. And so a lot of these things was going on during the days of Noah and his time. If you read a lot of that history, you'll see how wicked the earth was during that time, how perverse it was, and how, a lot of manipulation and a lot of science and testing and mixing and mingling was going on. And a lot of that is happening right now.
Yep.
It's normal. So
and to your point about the myths, to show that what you're saying is even true, the whole thing about the story of Ring Around the Rosie, how kids be singing that Ring Around the Rosie, pockets full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. It comes from the time during the Black Plague, where there was a ring around the Rosie. The people with the plague had red rings that would appear on their bodies. That would come up like little rosy red rings. And they would say ashes full of posies. They believed that posies helped to ward off the plague. So people would carry posies around and stuff to help prevent the plague from getting on them. And then they would say ashes, ashes. The original version was achoo, achoo, because all the people with the plague would sneeze violently right before they died. And then that's where we all fall down. Achoo, we all fall down. After the sneezing, you fall down dead. So that whole nursery rhyme that they had kids singing was really a morbid tale about how the plague functioned during that time. But now kids be singing it like it ain't nothing, but it comes from actual actions and activities that people did during the plague. So a lot of stuff that we do and that we talk about, and even our idioms and words that we say, they come from real things and real practices, and people just take it for granted because they're not familiar with the original purpose of it all.
Man, and that's interesting you mentioned that, because a lot of stuff they want to condition us with from our youth. We a lot of times when my wife and I, we allow our children to watch TV, we select the programs they watch, but one of the main themes they want to push on children is the concept of dinosaurs and outer space.
Yep.
You see that a lot.
Soon they're not even 1 year old and they already got the round Earth and rockets and cosmic trips and all that kind of stuff all in front of your kids.
Yeah. So it becomes embedded, from childhood to where, they got dinosaur action figures, and you ask yourself, if these creatures lived millions and millions of years old, what relevance do they have to us today? How many people have seen a dinosaur walking around?
Right.
How many of y'all have seen a pterodactyl flying in the sky, or a T-Rex just on the side of the road while you traveling with your family, just chopping down trees or anything? Like, these things are not relevant, and they tell us, well, we get fossil fuel, so you telling me we get all this oil today that we live off of from dinosaurs that died? Like, what kind of, I ain't the smartest guy in the world, but I ain't the dumbest either,
That's facts, man. They and then to show that this is something that they do, because again, I like to go at the naysayers, because y'all's wisdom is so good that even when the naysayers come, there's even counters for that, because they'll say, "Oh, that's crazy." Well, oil has been done the same way diamonds were done. People think diamonds are this rare resource that's so just super rare, but it's an artificial market. They got warehouses full of diamonds down in Africa. There's a village in Africa that literally found gold in their backyard. There's this kind of stuff. These jokers find diamonds all over the place down there when the Europeans ain't stealing it. You know what I'm saying? So diamonds are a common commodity, but they manipulated the market and manipulated marketing. People now, women will look at you sideways if you don't give them a super fat, 2 carat or -9 carat giant, super ring. And they'll think that, oh, you love me more by getting me more of this ring. Don't even know that comes from doggone Hollywood and the doggone people that make diamonds. People didn't give wedding rings as a dowry before. Nobody gave off no diamond ring as a dowry, but they got programmed watching these Hollywood movies who were paid by these dudes artificially handling the diamond supply to make diamonds are forever. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. You started seeing the TV shows where the dude showing the girl, "Oh, I love you," and he's buying her rings and diamond necklaces. And even in, like you said, the cartoons programmed us. I know everybody remember this episode of Tom and Jerry where he was trying to run up on the girl and mack her, and he brings out a diamond, and that thing was so small she had to get the thing on and look at it. And then she pulled out the diamond that the other dude got for her, and they had to put safety goggles on because it was so big it lit up and shined the whole room up. And that was the dude that she was running with. Forget the fact that, you know, the dude love her. Forget the fact that he really care about her and he, you know, want to be with her. Nah, you got to buy me this rock from the earth and it's got to be big for you to show me your love. They artificially control that just like they artificially control the other stuff. They control the oil the oil is a naturally occurring resource in the ground. Oil is how in the world does dinosaurs? It will be truly finite, and everything use gas and oil. Don't you think everybody on the planet use it? Don't you think we would have ran out of dinosaurs by now to burn?
Man, come on.
I mean, there's only so many dinosaurs that walk this earth, and everybody got a car using gas, and we got constant supply of gas. Don't you think we would have burnt all the dinosaurs by now?
Like, come on, bro. And then, you know, that's why the women like Fabio. You know who Fabio is, right?
Yeah, man. The dude they used to put on the model, the books.
Yeah,
back in the day.
you know, riding around with the Shakespeare blouse on the horse with the diamond necklace. Like, come on, man. You know, but like you say, they created a market, you know, to really cause people to look at, you know, things superficially. You know, diamonds, you know, when you look at our heritage, you know, King Solomon, gold and all that stuff, he said gold was like pebbles in the street. You know what I mean? So we that's where the Most High is trying to get us to that point, you know, to where the things that's of the earth are plentiful. You know what I mean? And that's one of the main resources that come from the earth, you know,
Yes, sir.
Gold, silver, oil, you know, and many other things that the world is robbing the Most High's land for to this day.
Facts.
You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, why we gotta be superficial? You know,
everything come out of Africa, man. All the minerals, even the stuff that we use for these computers and technology that we're using to talk right now, there's mines for it in Africa that they use for all this stuff. It's just like you say, it's so common. They found gold in the back of a village in just a random village, and it was a huge deposit of gold. This is what was sitting on. Like, man, please, they out here tripping about little diamonds and stuff and don't know. Like you said, that's nothing. Mansa Musa was so rich that when he made his pilgrimage, he upset the whole gold market because he was just going out there giving people gold because it was just regular to him. He was just giving people gold left and right. The whole market of gold got overrun because of him.
Come on. Come on, man.
And that's not talking about his daddy. His daddy was so rich. He said, "Hey, son, I'm leaving all this to you. I'm finna go over to this new land over here, and we finna go over there." He went over there. Was the first blacks in South America. That's why they got them in Mexico. They got them statues built that look like straight up brothers because they met Africans. Even in their drawings, you'll see people that are dark skinned hanging amongst them, helping them out fighting and stuff. Because they came over there and taught them technology and gave them things and taught them how to be more civilized. So they revered them as holy people.
Wow.
And this was they don't want to talk about that because melanated people, that's the melanated people's history. They don't, the Europeans want to skip past that and get to the Renaissance because during that time, they was beholden to the Moors. They don't want to talk about all the coat of arms that have Moorish people on them that taught them all the things that they know.
But we finding out now,
man. They stole all our inheritance, man. They steal from us all the time and then sell it back to us in a lie,
man. But I tell you what, man, let's go ahead and conclude this. We definitely gonna have to come back for a part 2, because one thing I always say about our history is that is vast, and if we serve a Most High that's infinite, then we have to realize, when we think about our history, we have to look at it in that way. Our heritage comes from on high. We have a lot of richness within a lot of our elders, things that, you know, we're going to go over. And these are things that we need to know, you know, things that when I first came into the truth, I gravitated to it, you know. These are things that gravitated to my heart and spirit when I found out that my history was in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't even explain how it hit me when I realized it, when I heard it, you know what I mean? But I knew then that that's how you know it's true. That's how you know you're dealing with something that's the truth.
It hit you in your spirit. I know exactly what you mean. It's like it's because it's stuff that I know I'm not the only one. We've all asked the Most High, man, is this all we about? Just slaves and running around in skirts? Like, is that it? Like, is that's all? This is all us? And then when you find out that you've been reading your history book all this time and you start reading it with those new eyes, man.
Man, I'm telling you, it's a different outlook, and it'll definitely change your life. You know, I know that's what it did for me. And in spite of what your family might think or what people around you might think, just stay encouraged. You know, we all gonna go through those times of separation, and all that is a process we all got to go through. Yep. You know, the Most High is gonna allow you to go through that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. He was going in. Who should talk about it? I just wanted to say, he said, I come to bring a sword to put woman against mother-in-law, son against father. You know, man's enemy shall be they of his own house.
Absolutely. And that's, believe it or not, you know, that's something that the Most High is going to allow you to go through, but he's going to be with you through it. But he's going to allow you to go through it. The pain, you know, the separation. It's like going on a journey that if you don't go on this journey, you won't experience the revelation that the Most High has for you on the other side. You know, and we all familiar with that when we watch movies and stuff, how, you know, person got to go on the journey and he got to go alone. Or she got to go alone. It's the same thing, you know, but you're not alone. You just, you know, you with the Most High all the way through it.
Facts, man. I actually gonna use this to counter this terrible take by this Christian. It was a Christian rapper too, man. It's so funny you put it that you said that too, how you say it like it's alone, because it's like, you know, when I was a Christian, I'm like, man, there's a lot of stuff in the world I can't do, but you know, I got the stuff I can do as long as it's under the Christian umbrella. And now I woke up to the truth, and it's like, man, I can't do that Christian stuff either. So it's like, can't do the world stuff, can't do all this Christian stuff. It's like, well, y'all say the way is narrow. It's truly narrow, and it's not a way that's popular because, you know, right now, like you were talking about, we got all these people today that was decking their halls and burning their Yule logs. And one of the Christian dudes literally tried to say that, oh, for all y'all talking about Christmas, you know, you still use technology. You're still using the internet. You're still on this. It was designed pagan. And I'm like, dude, that's not even the same thing. You stretching, because look at the technology here. This is the technology right now we building over the web talking about Yahuwah. So you're going to tell me that the internet is inherently evil? That don't even make sense. You comparing a tool versus comparing something that's pagan that people worship. And this is what this awakening will do. It's like when you wake up, you're going to see stuff like this again. This was a dude I used to listen to. I can't rock with this cat no more like that. You know, I can't do that. And it's just like, you know, as your circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller, because you're just seeing just the nonsense and the hypocrisy and people coming out like never before.
Yeah. And it's like you step outside, you know. And a good analogy is like this. You ever, growing up, did you have a bunch of little cousins and stuff, bunch of cousins and siblings?
On the one side, cousins, yeah.
Like when y'all was young, did they all used to come over and y'all be all in the room playing? Just, you know, chilling or playing around, all the kids in the room. and then somebody grown come in there, right? And they be like, dang, it's stinking here. All these kids running around. Right. But you young, you don't know it's stinking there. You having a good time, you wrestling, playing around, playing pillow fight or whatever. Then you step out the room, and then you come back in the room, you be like, dang. Who fought it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you always got that one cousin who always feet stink or something, you know.
Don't wash, be musty.
Yeah, that, you know, so he in there and it's hot, you know.
It's facts, man. I be going through that even with my son, man. Them jokers, they be all over here, him and his cousins and stuff. And I walk down there and I said, man, y'all little Negroes smell like homeless people, man. What y'all doing? They be down there just laughing and giggling and kicking around, don't think nothing. As soon as I say something, they start sniffing. Oh, yeah, I do smell bad.
Yeah, man. But you don't realize it till you step out. And that's kind of how it is when you come into the truth, you know.
Yep. When the
Most High wake you up, you know, you step outside of everything, and then you get around your family, you be like, man, that ham don't look right no more, you know.
Oh man, that bacon used to look so good to you, and then it's like, and man, like I said, my brother TCA, he hit me earlier today. I didn't know that chickens was doggone carnivores, man. He threw a video. This dude threw a chicken down on the ground, and them chickens tore that thing up, and that hurt my feelings. I'm like, oh boy,
wow.
I already know. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to get that bird up.
Tough decisions, huh?
But you know, it's like on one hand, it's like dang, but on the other hand, I'm like, it's like you said, once you see how stank it is, then you like, do I really want to eat this thing that is such a scavenger bird that it'll eat its own with no hesitation? I mean, that man threw a roast chicken down there. Now these aren't chickens that were starved. These are his pet chickens that he keeps in his house. It was a Gentile dude, and he threw a roast chicken down there. Man, they jumped on that thing and tore it up. They picked that thing clean, and I'm like, they've well fed. You know, they're not like, you know, oh, we starving, we just gonna eat, but they ate their own and didn't care. So, man, you know, it's like you come in and you see that stench, and it's like, you know, Yahuwah said it. We don't eat bottom feeders, man. We don't go in that way. I know a lot of people, you know, may not agree with that and stuff. And I ain't saying that, you know, if you do it, you know, it's a sin or whatever. I'm just saying that seeing that, it's like just like you said. When I come in and I smell the stench, I'm like, you know what? I gotta take a bath.
Yeah, I hear you. And that's, you know, that's definitely. I'm glad you brought that out, because that's something definitely that, you know, we're gonna have to look more into. I know about that chicken, you know, that's something that we Black people gravitate to, you know,
big time.
But yeah, man, when you come into that truth, you know, and you deal with it for a while, you know, your mind starts to change. Your way of life start to change, and then you come back, you know, it is a different feeling, you know, and then like you said, the Mashiach told you where your first opposition is going to be. It's going to be with your family, and those that say they love you, and those that you love, you know.
Right.
It's not to create contention between you and them. It's just the Most High has hollowed you out. He said, many are called, but few are chosen.
That's it. You know, you don't want to come and have, you know, I didn't go to my job's Christmas party. I was like, man, you know, it's not just enough to not put up a tree and do none of that stuff. I don't need to go do a secret Santa. I don't need to go do a Christmas party and stuff like that. You know, I don't go around, you know, the fam and stuff. They know where I stand and where we stand on that kind of stuff. And they want to still do this. You know, you just gotta draw a line, man. You know, you gotta say it's for y'all live and for y'all die. You know, whether my family going in and do this, I gotta be the one to say, nah, I ain't gonna do it. Like what was his name? Ahab's son, was it Hezekiah, that he had to go and tear down all the high places and tear down all the temples and all the stuff like that. Like that was, you know, his parents had passed that wickedness down into him. But Yahuwah said, tear it up. So what did they do? They went down and tore it up.
Yep.
We got to tear up them, them high places, man. All the pork and all that stuff, all these pagan days and whatnot, and all this, even some of the stuff we watch on TV and, and allowing our system. Like even with music and stuff, I used to, even in my Christian days, I still listen to like, a little bit of old Jay-Z. I'll listen to Lil Wayne and all this and that. I'm like, I can't listen to none of that stuff. I could barely listen to Christian cats nowadays.
Yeah, man. Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I can't even listen to them. I done seen so many Christian hip hop dudes defending Christmas with the worst takes ever. I'm like, man. Y'all should just be quiet and deck your halls. I would have a little more respect for you then. But when you try to like make these stupid false equivalencies and these weird Superman stretches of just logic and nonsense, like I'm like, come on, bro. I seen the Joker. I mean, again, I agree. Nike shoes. Nike is made by the god, people that worship the goddess of victory. So I don't wear Nikes. But he's literally comparing the wearing Nikes to worshiping at a pagan holiday. I'm like, wearing the shoes is one thing, but you're literally doing rituals. Right. You can't compare the two, bro. You can't compare it. When nobody worshiping Jupiter back in the day, or Nike, even the goddess of victory, they weren't worshiping her back in the day. Say, oh, Nike, I dedicated these shoes unto thee. My pumps are for you. And they start pumping their shoes up.
Man, look, I don't know, man. Look, you remember them Reebok pumps?
Yeah.
I remember hooping against dudes who thought that if they pumped them shoes up, it was just gonna make them just like MJ or somebody. But
they're gonna turn into Jordan or Kareem or something.
Look, I remember hooping against one dude, man, and I was just busting him, And he said, hold on, stop, time out. He started pumping up his shoes. I couldn't do nothing but just stand there and look, man, like, okay.
He finna start hitting jumpers now. My shoes got air in them.
He said, hold on, time out.
You just didn't see. He was going Super Saiyan. He turned into Steph Curry just then.
That's it, man. I don't know what that's going to do for your jump shot. It might make your feet feel a little better, but
oh man.
man. Oh. Bro, we're gonna have to go on and shut this down, man. But we definitely gonna have to come back for a part 2. But anything you wanna say to the family before we close out?
I always tell y'all to use, even from the things that we presented today, read it for yourself. We spent our whole life letting other people dictate wisdom and knowledge to us. Normalize researching things for yourself and searching them out for yourself and coming to the conclusion yourself. Don't believe it because I said it. Don't believe it because Brother Ibri said it. Believe it because Yahusha made it real to you yourself. Don't take everything I said as truth. Don't take nothing that I said as true. I'll speak for myself because I'm fallible and I can be wrong. So always take everything to Yahuwah and always bring it to him, because I'm not going to sit here and talk like I'm the authority and I got all the wisdom and I got it all, because that's how they talk to us. We need to learn to go and search these things out for ourselves and be like the Bereans, not the little crackpot dude with the nonsense on his channel, but the ones that he falsely names himself after, who actually went into the word and did research and study, who went in and searched the things out and searched the scriptures out. That's my message always to people. Search it out for yourself, so that way it comes real to you. I give you the resources. You can see, you read the same thing I read. If you come to a different conclusion, hey, let's build about it.
Absolutely. Agreed, 100%. I will say this, though. The Bible tells us that to what profit is there in being a Jew? Or what advantage is there in being a Jew, and what profit is there in circumcision? Much in every way, because that unto them were committed the oracles of Elohim. And so, like the brother said, we don't know everything. We know in part, we prophesy in part. But what we do know, are the things that we expound on and we share with the family and we encourage the family with. You know, like you said, don't take our word for anything. We put sources in front of you so that you can take those sources and go above and beyond what we show you, and then come back to the platform and show us what the Most High has shown you through what you have been founded in or given a foundation in. A lot of people come here, they learn. A lot of people come here to confirm. But whatever you come here for, we pray that the Most High is the source and the center of what you come for, and that you receive what you come for, whether it's edification, confirmation, or fellowship. You know, the brothers at the salt of the earth, that's what we're here for. I want to say shalom to all my brothers and sisters in the chat. Y'all are some soldiers for hanging in with us tonight, but we're going to leave y'all salivating for part 2. I want to say much love to my brother Big Red. Shalom and blessings, and thank you for coming on to the platform and gracing us with your time and showing us what the Most High has gifted you with. You know, it's definitely appreciated. And like I said, we definitely, Most High willing, going to be welcoming you back soon for part 2. I want to say shalom and blessings, brothers and sisters. May the Most High be with you, keep you, and bless you till we meet again. Shalom. I want to say shout out to my brothers, Brother Bunya Yasharal, Brother Cleo Thrower. Let's keep him in our prayers for his recovery from his time off. I want to say shout out to the brother Cleo, Brother Hal Goodwin, Brother Yashadeek, my brother Ralph out there in Australia. Shalom and blessings to you and your wife. Shalom and blessings once again to everybody in the chat. Shalom to my brother Big Red.
Yeah, man. I would give a shout out to your brother Lamont. Yeah, I saw him and Yakoba going back and forth on Twitter. Facebook about the Northern Kingdom. And that's something that I haven't studied for myself, but watching those brothers go at it, but in such a just very educated and it was a kingly way. This just to put it that way. It was no animosity. It was just scholars just discussing things and showing things and going at it. And it was so good. And it got me interested because this is a subject, honestly, that I never really thought about before. But it's got me interested in the subject, looking at both sides of the what they're talking about. So I want to give, those brothers a shout out. I'm always edified by that because, it's like you said, we all got different parts to it. And there's some parts that I just don't think about, that I don't even think about till I see another Hebrew talk about it. And I'm like, that's a good point. Let me go research that and see how that looked too. Let me go see what I find about that. So, man, just shout out to all the brews out there that's searching in truth. And then, with the Ruach for the truth of Yah.
Absolutely. And shout out to my brother Kadar as well with the salt of the earth. He's definitely sound in that area as well. But I will say this, bro, like if ever you want to discuss it or have questions or anything you want to, try with the spirit, just know that your brothers at the salt of the earth are here for you, in that regard. No pressure about anything, but, the things that the Most High has gifted us with, these are the things that we share with our family. And so, like I said, if ever you have any questions, concerns, or, anything, just feel free and know that we here for you, bro.
Oh, no doubt. Like once I definitely, like I said, when I really get into it, I definitely would love to have a big discussion about it. Just have everybody giving their point of views about the subject. That's what the prophets of old used to do. They just sat down and they discussed the workings of Yah and how things was going to happen. And back then they was like, how will the Hamashiach come through and how is Hamashiach going to get here? That was their discussions and stuff. And now that we passed that, we like, how Hamashiach going to come back and how did he do? All these different things. I enjoy them, man. I truly do enjoy them because it's not like when we arguing with these nonsense folks on these other channels who trying to deny us as the people. It's a whole different aura when Hebrews do it amongst themselves with the learned ones, man. It's just a true blessing, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah. And it's your position is definitely to be respected. You know, a lot of people come into it with a prideful stance, you know, and I was like you coming into it, you know, because we know where we come from, and I didn't want to be disrespectful. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wanted to always leave room to know that, you know, I could be in error, and the Most High's word is always true. But yeah, like I say, we can do that another time. I want to say shalom and blessings to the family. Thank y'all again, man. And may the Most High be with you. Shalom. But we definitely going to have a part 2. But shalom, fam.
Shalom.